Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about the one and only Turbo coin. Now, before we jump into it, just want to say a huge shout out to those that joined the live stream. If you guys don't know, I stream every single day at 7 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, man, it was absolute banger. Shout out to people that broke records, first donations ever, first ever, so many firsts. I'm just absolutely grateful and happy that I have a very beautiful and supportive community like yourselves. Listen, let's talk about Turbo, right? We can see that the integration status is complete. TurboToken.io is now running on the Vera player infrastructure. Go press play to see it in action and learn about Turbo Token's journey from AI origin to fully decentralized community-powered Titan. Sorry, reading sometimes complicated. But look, seriously. So when we go on to the site, nope, not that one, this one, right? We can see that this is powered by Verasity. So here's the original video of practically the guy, the creator of Turbo Token, right? And we can see you can just play the video. And this is something that was not here. At least I believe it wasn't. My memory is blanking out. I barely go on the site, to be fair. But no, seriously, it's not, because this is powered by Veracity and stuff. So yeah, so we can see, very, very nice, very, very ideal. Always adds that little bit of pack a punch. Is it going to be the biggest difference maker between, us going from, let's say, to 10 cents and 20 cents? No, but can it get us the extra 1% value, 2%, 5%, 10%? Absolutely, right? I absolutely believe so, right? Even just scrolling on this page, like, look how many things and collaborations and exchanges were listed on. I mean, there's so much. Like, this is a meme coin at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Like, look at the names, Chainlink, all these games, Metaverse, like, oh my God. All right. This is why we're holding very, very well compared to so many other meme coins. So yeah, we can see that. Let's jump into some of the basics we like to cover. So ladies and gentlemen, we can see that we are ranked 164 with 62 million volume, roughly 270 million market cap. So not bad, not bad. Obviously, price has gone down, but I expect things to be very, very solid over the next, week, from end of this week to the next week. So ladies and gentlemen, we can see that we are 55,373 holders. So we have been slowly rising despite price going down, meaning people see value in this coin. People are willing to buy this coin when it's low, which it makes sense to buy something when it's low. Because remember, a lot of people's psychology is backwards when it comes to this, okay? So yeah, we'll just close some of these tabs over here, and then we are going to go back to Turbo. So actually, before we go to Turbo, let's go to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has done its thing, right? It has swept these last relevant lows, and we can see that we are very, very nicely recovering. It's not the fastest to the upside, but we are fundamentally recovering. So, I don't know where necessarily going to end up. I still believe that we can flip all this momentum to the upside, especially that there's going to be very, very big news, ladies and gentlemen. When you see this video, okay, within, 30 minutes later, there's going to be very, very big news that will affect Bitcoin, that will affect Turbo, okay? So I do believe Bitcoin can go all the way up even to back to 107K and possibly back to 109K by the time Sunday rolls around before the weekly candle closes. Now that might sound crazy, but what we needed to happen happened. Okay, now we just have to see how the big news event reacts, and we'll take it from there. And same thing with Turbo, right? I expect Turbo to follow Bitcoin fairly well. Now here is the deal, right? It's not the strongest of price actions, but ladies and gentlemen, right, there might be very nice manipulation downside quickly before we burst to the upside. Overall, right, if you've been dollar cost averaging where we have been saying, right, over here was decent, right? But then we talked about these sweeps. They've been also decent. And then of course, below, we've talked about how we expect it to go lower than 0.004. So many buying opportunities, right? Many buying opportunities over the last, let's say 2 weeks. Even could have got it a little bit earlier, 3 weeks, right? So, and if you did follow, my philosophy, right? If you got some, let's say $100 here, and then you got like, maybe $200 here, and then maybe put like 250 here or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just giving you a random number. The point is about the ratios, then you should be sitting actually a very nice average. I overall do expect Turbo to do very well. Okay. I seriously do. For me, ladies and gentlemen, this is more of this type of structure. Yes, obviously this has been taking longer, but overall, I do expect a nice recovery this week. And maximum next week, we really should start pumping. The only thing I expected, to be honest, was things to play out quicker. I thought Monday, Tuesday was going to be the manipulation. And then ever since like Wednesday, probably even Thursday would be the recoveries. But things are a little delayed. Now, that doesn't mean, it's not the end of the world. It is not the end of the world because, we are still technically following global liquidity. Now, of course, if things do change, right? If things for some reason would go sour with global liquidity, then we would have to readjust our game plan. Even just in terms of candles, right? Even just in terms of pure candles, everything is looking very good, right? We tapped into this order block, right? We tapped in this order block and we tapped into the beautiful support. So I do expect this to flip. When we go to the 3-month candle, it is overall very solid, right? So we completed a few tasks for this candle. Number one, we tapped into the 3-month order block, right? We tapped into it, we started to sell off. Then we bounced off here. And the next pretty much move over the next little bit is to go absolutely nuclear and go back up to 0.008. That is pretty much the next big move, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that is pretty much the next big move, right? I expect it to happen sooner than later. We know, especially with global liquidity, because people have been saying this, they mentioned the live stream, and it's something I still consider and look at, all the time, is I do believe there's a chance Turbo will top out a little earlier, right? When altcoin season usually lasts about 8 weeks. But the thing is, some of the coins peak within the first week to 2, which is not too many. Most peak within like the 4 to 5 week range. And then near the end of it, there's still some of the ones that peak a little bit later, right? Just 2-3 weeks after it. So, I'm still considering that because we were the first to really pump, right? When we take these bottoms over here, it was 91 days. And then, if we go 1, 2, 3, right, it would be, this is the bottom, 2, 1, 2, 3. We were this first peak, right? We were this first peak. And then even though, global liquidity has been going up, has been going up, and then we had this dip, we haven't really been. So, that does mean though, I do expect a pump very soon, right? We are on this weekly candle right here, which is 91 days. Now, obviously it's supposed to be pumping and it's not, which is why I believe when you see this video, Friday and Saturday and Sunday will be very big recoveries. Okay, they really should be. And if we don't do some mega big pump this week, like recover back to 0.005755, then next week should be the big pumps. Because then if we're not really doing that, then we're not really following global liquidity too much. And then things get a little messed up, right? Things get a little messed up, which is obviously not ideal. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. Would love to see you guys on the live stream, 7 p.m. Eastern every single day. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should've, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.